In 1972, a baby gorilla named Koko learned to communicate using over 1,000 signs in American Sign Language. Her story forced scientists to rethink what language actually is, and whether the line between us and animals is drawn in the right place. Most people assume language is uniquely human, but Koko's story tells a different narrative. The ability to communicate through symbols isn't something we invented, but something we shared with other primates all along. Your ancestors didn't have written words. They had sounds, gestures, expressions, and yet they understood each other. So what exactly is language, and what does it mean that a gorilla can learn to use it? Koko was born in the San Francisco Zoo in 1971 to a mother named Kolo, the first gorilla to be born in captivity. But within a few months, Koko's mother rejected her, and she was taken in by Dr. Francine Patterson, a psychologist who had recently begun studying animal cognition at Stanford University. Patterson didn't just raise Koko. She decided to teach her American Sign Language. So why would anyone try to teach a gorilla sign language? Because spoken language requires vocal cords and a throat structure specifically optimized for human speech, something no other primate possesses. But sign language relies entirely on hand shapes, positions, and movements, things that gorillas are anatomically capable of producing. So in theory, if gorillas had the cognitive ability to understand symbolic communication, they should be able to learn sign language. Francine Patterson began working with Koko when the gorilla was just 1 year old. She started with basic signs: drink, food, more. At first, Koko mimicked Patterson's hand movements, the way any animal might mirror a caretaker's actions. But gradually, something shifted. Koko wasn't just copying anymore. She was learning. She was understanding that specific hand shapes corresponded to specific meanings, and she was learning to use them intentionally. By the time Koko was 4 years old, she had mastered approximately 375 signs. By her teenage years, that number had expanded to over 1,000. She could ask for things. She could describe her feelings. She could comment on events around her. She could even combine signs in new ways to express concepts she had never been formally taught. When Koko wanted to describe a zebra, and she had no specific sign for the animal, she combined the signs for horse and striped, creating horse striped. When she wanted to refer to herself, she used the sign for gorilla, but directed it toward her own chest. She was engaging in the exact same process of linguistic creation that human toddlers use when they call a horse a big dog or invent new words to describe things in their world. And here's what made Koko truly remarkable. She wasn't just passively learning signs that were fed to her. She was actively using language to express her own thoughts, preferences, and emotions. According to research documented by Dr. Koko Foundation, Koko demonstrated an understanding of abstract concepts. She could use signs to describe emotions like sad, happy, and angry. She could express preferences about food, toys, and people. When Patterson showed her a picture of a duck, Koko signed duck, then looked at Patterson and made a laughing expression with a duck hand shape, essentially making a pun by associating the duck with laughing. This is sophisticated language use. This is creativity. This is a mind playing with symbols and meaning for the pure enjoyment of it. What Koko's abilities revealed was something that neuroscientists and cognitive researchers had been reluctant to accept. Other animals didn't lack language. They lacked the specific vocal anatomy to produce human speech. But the underlying cognitive ability to understand symbols, to link those symbols to meaning, and to use them in new and creative ways, that ability wasn't unique to humans at all. It was present in gorillas. It was present in chimpanzees, who have also been taught sign language. It exists in bonobos and orangutans. The evidence suggested that this capacity for symbolic communication wasn't something that arose suddenly in humans. It was something we inherited from our primate ancestors. We didn't invent language, we elaborated on it, but here's where things get complicated. And this is where Koko's story becomes less about celebrating animal intelligence and more about understanding what language actually does for us. Yes, Koko could learn sign language. Yes, she could express complex thoughts and emotions. But there's a crucial difference between what Koko did and what humans do with language. Humans use language to transmit knowledge across generations. We write books. We create systems of law and mathematics that are encoded in language. We have debates about philosophy and morality and the nature of existence itself, conducted entirely through language. Koko never wrote anything down. She never taught another gorilla sign language. She never created cultural knowledge that persisted beyond her own lifetime. A researcher named Sue Savage Rumbaugh, who worked with bonobos and studied animal cognition extensively, noted that while animals can learn symbols and use them, they typically don't develop the complex grammatical structures that human languages possess. Humans use grammar to create infinite meaning from finite vocabulary. We can describe things that never happened, things that might never exist, hypothetical futures, and alternative pasts. We use grammar to embed meaning within meaning, to create poetry and propaganda and logic puzzles. Koko's signing, while sophisticated, remained relatively concrete. She signed about her immediate environment, her current feelings, her desires, and memories. She didn't use sign language to contemplate the nature of meaning or to describe a hypothetical situation that existed only in her imagination. So what Koko actually demonstrated wasn't that gorillas are just like humans, only with worse speech. It was something more nuanced and interesting. She demonstrated that the capacity for symbolic communication exists on a spectrum. It's not a trait that humans have and all other animals lack. It's a trait that humans have elaborated on, extended, complicated, and turned into something that no other animal has achieved. We took the basic ability to link symbols to meaning, and we built an entire civilization on top of it. We created written language, which meant that symbols could persist beyond the moment they were produced. We created complex grammar, which multiplied the meaning we could express. We created metaphor and irony and sarcasm, layers of meaning stacked on top of meaning. And perhaps most importantly, we used language to create culture. We told stories about our ancestors and passed them down. We created belief systems and moral codes and scientific theories. We used language not just to communicate about the present moment, but to build a shared understanding of the past and a collective vision of the future. Koko learned to communicate, but she never learned to culture in the way that humans do. In 1981, when Koko was 9 years old, a young kitten was brought to her. Koko named her All Ball, using the signs for all and ball. She showed tenderness toward the kitten, carrying it carefully, playing with it gently. When All Ball was hit by a car and died, Koko grieved. She signed sad and cried, literally producing tears. It was one of the most poignant moments in Koko's life, and it was documented and celebrated as proof that Koko experienced emotions and could express them through language. But here's what's interesting. Koko couldn't write down her grief. She couldn't create a poem about All Ball. She couldn't leave a legacy of her loss for other gorillas to understand. Koko's emotional expression was powerful and genuine. It existed in the moment, and then it was gone. Koko passed away in 2018. Her death was mourned by thousands of people around the world. People who had followed her story and understood on some level that she was bridging a gap between us and them, proving that the wall between human and animal minds wasn't as solid as we thought. She left behind thousands of hours of video documentation, thousands of examples of her signing and her thoughts. She left behind a legacy that changed how we understand cognition and communication and what it means to be capable of using symbols to represent the world. So when you read these words, you're doing something Koko couldn't, but it's an elaboration of what she did, a capacity we share. Language isn't unique to humans. What's unique is how we transformed that capacity into a universe of meaning. And perhaps that's the real lesson of Koko's story. Not that we're smarter than other animals, but that we took one tool and made it into everything.